All right, it says live on Zoom and live on Facebook. Welcome back to The Changed Physician. I am Melissa Cady, the Challenge Doctor, with my Amazeballs co-host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, his famous words, Amazeballs. I guess that's one word. We are streaming live on Facebook. If you see me on or see us on the Challenge Doctor, it's because it's cross-posted from the Changed Physician Facebook page. If you don't know what the Changed Physician is all about, you can go to thechangedphysician.com. You can join if you're a physician or a physician ally to keep up with any future events and to be part of the community. And of course, you can find our podcasts that release on Sundays and Thursdays on all the famous little podcast venues. And we can be seen on video with this recording. Our Saturday salutations actually are on Saturdays. They're inserted as a podcast, but our podcast, you can see video on YouTube. And of course, what else do we have? Instagram. You can check out our Instagram posts that let you know what's coming up on our most recent episodes. So welcome to Saturday, and hello, everybody. And hello, Kevin.
Hello, Melissa. How are you today?
I'm great.
You were great.
I'm great. I just did a whole bunch of pre-ops with my patients, and which are very nice to do, especially the holidays coming up. I'm trying to stack them a little ahead of time so that I don't interfere with other people's holidays, that kind of thing. So
you're like stacking them up like weeks in advance?
A few weeks. Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. What's new in your world?
Oh, I don't know. We were just talking about that. Like this week was sort of a blur. I think Veterans Day, having the break in the middle always kind of makes things interesting. I do know Tuesday, I thought it was Wednesday. And Veterans Day was nice.
Thank you to all the veterans out there.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I usually don't do much for that, even though I'm a veteran, but this year I actually went and got coffee. Starbucks gave coffee and gave my wife coffee for free too, which was really nice of them. And then Buffalo Wild Wings gave me a free boneless chicken and fries. So yeah. So apparently my wife works with another doc who I think he was Army previously. He's like, next year we should get together and we'll just start at breakfast and just keep going and see what happens with it. But yeah, interesting. Veterans Day is a very interesting day. And yeah, I mean, you can get really serious about it very, very quickly when you kind of think about the reasoning behind it. And I think I hope most people realize that originally Veterans Day was actually Armistice Day, and Armistice Day was signed at the end of World War I, a war that was supposed to be so horrendous. And they picked the specific date, the 11th day, the 11th hour of the 11th month, in order to end this conflict. And they actually delayed signing the treaty to make sure that they would put it on the state, because they were hoping it would sort of end all major conflicts. Now, obviously that didn't work. So I don't know. It's just interesting to me that we have this day and we're celebrating veterans, which we actually, people who have served. I understand that. And yet the fundamental reason for why we had the purpose of the day in the first place, we still seem to not be able to work around as a human society. So anyway, deep thoughts on Saturday.
Yeah, deep thoughts for sure. Why don't you want to mention the most recent episodes?
Most recent episodes, sure, because they were so fun. Where are we? Oh yeah. So we had Dr. Kelly Casperson of the You Are Not Broken podcast. Dr. Casperson is a urologist up north of me, up in the Washington area. Super fun episode, super cool person. Really interesting story on her journey on how she A, went to medical school, B, why she chose urology, which is a typically male dominated field, and then how she sort of stumbled into the podcasting, and specifically with a sex podcast, and not your typical sex podcast where, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know what a typical sex podcast is.
You're such an expert.
But what I particularly like, and this is something I think we advocate for physicians in general, and part of the reason that we have the Changed Physician podcast is there's this opportunity to provide your expertise and knowledge. There are many podcasts out there that are not physician-led that are about health and health-related podcasts or health and health-related topics. Many of them, I should say, some of them are good. Many of them aren't. And to have somebody who has actually real demonstrated expertise, who understands the medical lingo, and then went out and then independently learned, in addition, kind of learned about all those the about sex and about the psychology of sex, things that we weren't taught in medical school, but which our background and learning allows us to do. That's really exciting to me. And it also provides a venue for people to get what you would hope would be good information in an age when you really have to question the information that you get. So I love that episode, and I love talking to her, and yeah, it was this. I'm sure podcast is doing really well. And then following up with that is the episode Sex, which, because that's what it's about. And we talk more about her podcast and sexual topics. So
yeah,
I will bet a lot of people will listen to that one, and they may not tell us that they listened to that one. Or maybe they will. There's really nothing in there that's like
too hard to listen to.
Well, I don't actually. We brought this up, is we should be talking about this stuff. Yeah. And we talk about that in the episode. So hopefully you listen to it, and then let us know you listen to it, and then tell us what else you would like to know about, or your feelings about the episode. So
yeah, and stay tuned for next week, where we'll do a little deep dive.
A deep dive.
Chatting about it. But you have to say, there is a benefit to when physicians can take all their experience and they can blend the wellness components and additional training that may not have been taught to them in medical school and blend them together. It is a great combination to kind of get that perspective.
Well, and then we have true experts speaking on things, right? Rather than the faux experts. And there's a lot of psychology behind that. You know, you can publish a book. It doesn't matter what the book is, and that somehow gives you a degree of expertise. Mm-hmm. You can have a podcast. It doesn't matter what your background is, but you get 20,000 downloads a day or whatever, and somehow now you're the expert, and that is no guarantee on that. So for a venue where it has a pretty low barrier to entry, and to have people who actually have true knowledge enter it, it becomes more and more important that we do so. Yeah, I don't know.
And just to plug for her podcast, You Are Not Broken is the name of the podcast. It is extremely well established worldwide. I have not looked at the numbers, but she is really reaching areas and little crevices of countries that she, that's pretty remarkable, just to know the reach you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, as always on Saturday Salutations, we like to share a little goodness of something that we are grateful for or enjoyed this past week. Do you have something?
I have the two things. The two things that came into mind is that stupid kettlebell that I absolutely love, and I'm going to bring it on
You just have to sit it next to like your friend.
It is. It's just a beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I think I mentioned last week I want to go back and actually buy some of my other weights from this company, because it's just so great. Like, it feels so good in your hands. And anyway, and then the other thing is my Pumice Stone, which I'm pretty sure I mentioned previously, because they go hand in hand, right? One makes the calluses, and the other one softly rubs them away with like a fine grained sandpaper. So those have been, again, my two favorite things, other than, I don't know, the internet. I mean,
okay,
the internet's pretty amazing. We should, there's a lot of downsides with it, but man,
so much good you get from it.
Well, I was, I'm thinking about like how easy it is to access information now.
Yes.
Like growing up and having to open the encyclopedia, or when you have a paper and you had to go to the library and check out books. Mm-hmm. Seriously, going to the library and have to check out these books. Mm-hmm. And if they didn't have one, that was hard, Anyway, so it's pretty amazing.
Well, I'm going to segue from that, because you just talked about the internet, and I was just thinking when you said that, you can't use the whole excuse, well, I don't know how to do that, So I looked up online how to, how can I reupholster these chairs that don't match in my sunroom? And so I just figured out how to pull out all these staples, got a staple gun, and I used the old upholstery. I kept it and used it as my guide to cut out the new fabric. And in a few hours last night, I just reupholstered 2 chairs. So I was like, oh, that that makes it so much easier because I had that little guide to use your fabric from before and use it as your,
That's crazy.
Isn't it crazy? Well, I
is
can't
crazy.
say it's quite as nice as the originals as far as the finish on one edge on certain edges of it, but I'm gonna, modify a little bit with some kind of ribbon or something to cover up, like, those spots where you see the staples, but it does a trick. So yeah, I'll have to say I am very grateful for online access to stuff. Let's see what else. Is there anything else I've done to learn how to do all kinds of stuff for the garden? Let's see what else. Yeah, that's the main one that just happened the last 24 hours. And then the other thing that I'm grateful for is one of the surgeons I work with suggested that I watch My Octopus Teacher.
I've heard that's good.
It was so good. Yes, I did cry. It is so cool. And the octopus is so amazing. And just like thousands and thousands and hundreds, I don't even know how long of years of how it can change the surface of its tissues and like a chameleon in so many different forms and create horns and then take away the horn. Like, it is insanely incredible. And there's a certain intelligence to it that is just, and there's some touching moments in it. And I would be scared to go in the water with that, but I loved it. You have to watch it. So not because of the octopus, because of the sharks. And it's like these kelp forests and stuff. But anyway, that was amazing. I really suggest watching. If you love animals, you want to slow down and appreciate the world that we live in and the ecosystem and how fragile it can be and how amazing it can be. That's a definite watch. And it does make me question my consumption of calamari. But
calamari is not octopus.
It's squid.
Yeah, so maybe the squid are stupid.
Well, I know, but you just start. I'm still going to eat calamari. It just makes you really think of. Granted, the whole ecosystem down there, things are eating other things. It is what it is. But so
there is an argument for that, though. Like if I cut my meat consumption down. We talked about that way back in January because of the environmental consequences of meat eating.
Mm-hmm.
But if it hadn't necessarily been for that, I've been toying with the idea because there is something that's sort of barbaric about eating something that is sentient, and people say, well, what? Sentient? Thinking.
Oh, sentient.
And they go, well, they're not thinking. Well, how are you determining that they're not if you have something that can think? An octopus octopuses are no, it's not octopi, it's octopuses actually.
Yes. Like platypuses.
Yeah. I learned that from my daughter's first grade presentation on octopuses. But they are smart. I think I've read things that they're smarter than a 3-year-old. And then you look at even things like cows and things, and they experience. I don't know. It's tough. I don't want to think about it too much when you're like, this kind of hunting is a different thing. I do think if you are hunting, that may be different as long as it's not like, kick the bird, the bird that was raised in a pen and then they put it in front of you and kick it to make it fly so you can shoot it. I've been there. That's not necessarily hunting, but I don't know. The question of morality and food is an interesting one.
Yeah. No, I've been through phases of not eating any animal, and actually it's funny, psychologically it made me feel like I want to throw up if I think about eating meat. When I got to that place where I was just like, I was thinking of all the horrible things, and then somehow you kind of dismiss it because you just don't want to think about it, and then you kind of get back into eating meat. But I still find myself I prefer to have some meals without meat. Like, I don't think every meal has to be meat. That's just my belief on what everything, with what we do to the mass consumption we have to do to feed this planet that continuously grows exponentially. It makes you realize that maybe there's a reason all these pandemics are going to be popping up because we got to control the population. But there's just no way that we can. I think the biggest problem with our society, and we're going on a tangent, is that we're overly consumptive. And
I think that is a good phrase to use.
Yeah.
Overly consumptive. Yeah.
So I'm trying to be a little more mindful. But you look around your home and you're like, God, why do we, why do we really need all these things? Or, it just makes you think all the manufacturing and the raw materials necessary to create. And then if you pass on, or like, is anyone going to use them or recycle them, or are they just going to throw them in a pit somewhere in the earth? But
yeah.
Deep thoughts.
That reminded me, actually, since we're still on Saturday Salutations, and that'll pivot into the next part of another favorite thing, because when you were mentioning that, and you particularly mentioned like climate when you're talking about the octopus, I got an email last Tuesday, or just this Tuesday, from the Cards Against Humanity folks. And for those of you who may not know, Cards Against Humanity, from the myth, is like a group of high school kids, and they started making card games, and then they published this game called Cards Against Humanity. Do you know what I'm talking about? You look like you don't know.
No, I've heard of it.
Okay, so it's a pretty rude and crude game at times, although they did publish a family friendly version. And I had never played the game until about 3 or 4 years ago. They were doing something, and they were like, hey, we're going to do this, we're trying to raise awareness. And this specifically was political, and they were doing this thing where if you bought this thing, like these special card packs, they would actually buy micro pieces of land along the Texas-Mexican border to create this huge land trust, and they did it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, it's the weirdest thing. I barely have even used their stuff, but they're the coolest company. And they just had one. It was another pack of cards. And this was Cards Against Humanity, the Climate Catastrophe pack. And their marketing is it's awesome. And they send this email, and they, this is good. We're going to do this, and you're going to sell these packs, and all the money is going to go to, it's another thing, like either invest in rainforest so that we can prevent deforestation. But you can go there and you can put in your zip code to see how screwed you are with climate change. So, yeah, it's like, and if you are in a zip code that they're like, you are super effed, you get 50% off.
Oh my God.
So anyway, they're awesome. And I of course had to buy their pack, even though I don't really play this game. And then I even emailed them, and I'm like, you guys are just awesome. And they replied back and said, thanks for the nice thoughts, even if you don't, your cards are sitting around gathering dust. Like, it was, so if you guys like the game Cards Against Humanity, and if you support some awesome marketing, and particularly would appreciate a company that is a company that has a profit, but at the same time hasn't lost its soul, they're great. I've just been so impressed with them. And that was one of my other favorite things this week.
Yeah, didn't they do during the Trump administration? Did they do a Trump one too?
That was the Trump. The first one was Cards Against Humanity, something about the wall, and that's that was
part of it. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was insane. Like, they were sending, that was long. They would send, like, it was over weeks. They kept mailing things, and I don't remember. Somehow we got
so many now.
Oh, they do. It's insane. And I've literally played the game twice.
Yeah, I think we've played it maybe 3 times, and it's usually with our Australian friends when we're down there.
You need the right crew for sure. You definitely need the right crew to play it.
Yeah, you have to kind of, you have to be open to laugh about some crazy stuff.
Oh yeah. There can be just filthy and filthy fun ways, as long as everybody is enjoying that type of humor. It's hilarious.
Yeah, you can't get the ultra conservative, stay in the lines kind of person to play this one.
Yeah, it's a little over the top, over the top. But it did remind me. I think that's the thing that really hit me on deep thoughts. If you guys have really deep thoughts with Jack Haney, it's like deep thoughts with Dr. Cuccaro. Is like the push that so many corporations are this never-ending treadmill for increasing profits. I understand growth, but at some point you start losing the soul of your company in this endless pursuit of more and more when more doesn't necessarily mean anything anymore.
Right.
Or you're creating, it's so a company starts getting so big that they try to find every possible way to monetize their audience. Where, look at Facebook, how Facebook has morphed over the years, and they're taking our information and they're feeding these algorithms and they're feeding specifically targeted ads that in many situations actually just keep us deeper entrenched into the rabbit hole, if you fall into that kind of rabbit hole quickly. Or you find a brand, and I guess this comes from Marriott, because I'm, was early this year when I was on my platinum quest. We're actually one night away from titanium now, which is insane, I know. But they're revising their loyalty program next year to move out of these point category systems into dynamic point pricing. And it's another way to increase bottom line revenues.
Yeah. But you want more meaning. It's not just, like you gotta add something to people's lives. I mean, granted, the money is exchanged for value apparently, but I think it's cool that there are Cards Against Humanity and what they're trying to do, some missions and purposes and meaning, some efforts at other things.
Well, and to not forget where they are and that they're actually a human-based company, or you look at like Costco. So Costco stock has always had sort of this upward trajectory like this. Not a lot of ups and downs. It doesn't have the growth potential, and people don't chase it like they do, like the FANGs, like the Facebooks and the Googles and the Amazons and things. But it's because Costco as a business has fundamentally understood that their model is about membership and is to take care of their members.
Right.
So they're not there to extract more flesh from their members. They're trying to increase the value that they give, and by that they attract more members.
Right.
Versus if for some reason their management changed and then they like, well, we have all these paying members, this is what we can do. We can actually increase the tier programs. We can start making special purchases. We can raise the price on the chickens or whatever. We can stop, instead of focusing on who our members are, we can start focusing on our stock price and how we can make that go up. And now you're not a business that's really symbiotic anymore with your consumer. Instead, you're a predator. Yeah. And I was thinking a lot about that with businesses and how businesses morph in this pursuit for growth and growth and growth and growth. And at some point, it just seems pathologic. It's like a cancer. I don't know. I'm like not against capitalism. I obviously am not against capitalism at all. But what I am against is the pursuit of profit in the face of profit only. So now you are actually hurting other people in that pursuit. And that just seems, and I think a lot of times that gets, and particularly in our society, that focus starts to becomes really to the top of the surface for a lot of people. And it's like, well, growth is good for this. Well, growth isn't good just to have growth alone. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm just letting you run. I mean, it's true. I mean, there's definitely, you can see it everywhere on the internet, or an email, when you get on email lists, some of the ways that they pursue you.
Yeah. So anyway, that, I guess, not that super happy train of thought for a Saturday Salutations.
Well, why don't you leave us with a nice positive thing and then take us out?
A nice positive thing. Well, thank you all for joining us on the Change Physician podcast. We enjoy you, whether you're hearing us live or you're hearing us later on the recording. Obviously, if you find a mission with us, if there's something that we are missing or something that we can do to serve you better, let us know. And you can do that by going to thechangephysician.com and sign up for the community, or just putting your comments there through the contact information. You can join us every Saturday live on Saturday Salutations, or at the podcast, The Change Physician, on all your podcast venues. And until next week, stay well.
Take care.